the jury is still out on Dak Prescott. I mean, we know what Ezekiel Elliott is. You can look at Emmitt Smith and you can sit up there and say Ezekiel Elliott can be somebody that can spearhead that running attack for years to come because he's a stud. Amari Cooper is somebody I believe in, and he's got the requisite skill. Is he the vocal leader that Michael Irvin was? Is he's the galvanizing force that elevates the play of not just himself but people around him because of who he is? And keep in mind, Michael Irvin, you'll find very, very few people in NFL history who are known to have worked harder at their craft than Michael Irvin. This guy was special, man. He's a Hall of Famer for a reason. And it wasn't just his talent. It was his work ethic and commitment to excellence. He was the guy that went to Jimmy Johnson and said, you want to win? Get rid of this dude, this dude, this dude, and was highlighting all the guys who didn't want it bad enough when Jimmy Johnson first arrived for the Cowboys. That's who Michael Irvin is. He's that special. Amari Cooper's not that kind of guy. He's a quiet guy. He goes out there and performs. He puts in the work. He has the ability. But in terms of galvanizing folks, I'm not sure about that. And then there's Dak Prescott. Listen, Dak Prescott, I like Dak Prescott a lot. He's composed. He tries to be a leader. He's a damn good quarterback. But is he the Troy Aikman type? I'm talking in terms of accuracy, throwing the football, running a team, etc. He still has a lot to prove. And in light of that, I don't know if we have a big three yet. I think you can make a better argument for a big two than a big three in Dallas.
Look, I think that's a good point. And before we get to Aikman and Emmitt Smith and Michael Irvin, how about can they be like Romo and Dez and DeMarco Murray even, something like that? But the bottom line is, if you don't have the quarterback, none of it matters. It really comes down to Dak. When you look at the original triplets on the Cowboys, Aikman was a top 3 to 5 quarterback year in and year out. No one ever thought he was the best in football. Emmitt Smith was a top 3 to 5 running back year in and year out. No one really thought he was Barry Sanders. Or, by the way, Thurman Thomas or Terrell Davis, guys like that. Also, you thought if you put him behind that Dallas offensive line, they'd have been probably a little better. But he was certainly a compiler, and I don't mean that negatively. He's one of the all-time greats, Emmitt Smith. But neither Aikman nor Emmitt, you thought that's the best in the business. Michael Irvin, I think, was maybe a little differently talented than those guys. And on the last iteration of triplets on the Cowboys, Dez was the differently talented guy. You know, DeMarco Murray's a good running back, and Tony Romo was a fine quarterback. Dez was the guy you go, that's really a top 3 to 5 at his position in the NFL. With this group, that is Ezekiel Elliott. You have one truly great player. Amari Cooper, the jury is still out. He has all the tools, but he's never really been top 3 to 5, not over the course of a season or two. And none of that really matters if the quarterback can at least be a starting caliber franchise quarterback. And I think Dak has it in him. I saw it in his rookie year. I'm not saying he can't do it, but it is far from certain that he can. The jury is still out on Dak, so it is premature to compare him even to the last version of the triplets, let alone 3 Hall of Famers.
Yeah, I think what we're looking at here is the original version. We're talking about Aikman and Irvin and Emmitt Smith. These guys could have excelled in spite of maybe not top-level quality coaching because they were just intrinsically motivated to the point where they were going to be Hall of Famers when you matched up their motivation with their talent. These guys were just special. They had that intangible in them that was not going to allow them to fail. So in spite of their surroundings, I think these guys were going to be special anyway. I think this group that we're talking about now, they're going to reach their maximum. And by their maximum, I mean they're going to get every ounce out of their ability, and they're going to kind of bring their team along with them and have success as a football team because of their coaching, because of the organization around them, and because of the people that are kind of like shepherding their career along the way. And I don't quite honestly think they have that right now. I think that's going to come from a different staff. I think that's going to come from a different, especially from the offensive side of the ball, that's going to come from a different philosophy. You see it in spurts. You see just how talented Amari is. You see how talented Dak is when the offense is running through Ezekiel and the play calling has a certain rhythm to it and has a certain characteristic to it. If you put him at the quarterback position and every play just becomes a drop back where he has to have full field reads and he has to use his mind and his overall football intellect to just dice you up, that's not his game. So don't expect that to be his game. But I think right now, the Cowboys are just too vanilla. They're too unimaginative. And I don't think that right now, from a coaching staff standpoint, this team will reach its maximum with this offensive staff.
Question, Lewis. What I noticed about the first set of triplets is arguably the greatest offensive line of all time. What I noticed about the next set was, boy, that was an elite offensive line. Mm-hmm. How much of this is, even Dak struggles, the lack of, they're okay, but a dominant offensive line? If you dropped the best O-line in football in front of these three guys, what are they then?
No, I think that has a lot to do with it. And I think you saw that, Dak's rookie year as compared to what is going on right now. He right now isn't afforded the same kind of protection. They don't capture the line of scrimmage on a consistent basis like they used to. So now the offense has become a little bit more dependent upon his ability to be an upper echelon quarterback, especially when the play calling doesn't have that play action style rhythm to it. It doesn't have that creativity to it. It starts to expose some of his weaknesses. That's why I'm saying, in order for these guys to reach their potential, a lot of things have to go right for them. When we're talking about the big three from the past, these guys were special players. Troy Aikman was a special kind of competitor. He's a special kind of thrower. Emmitt Smith, I played against Emmitt. Although he wasn't physically the most talented runner in the league during his time, he was the most complete in terms of his intellect, his mindset, his competitiveness, his toughness, combined with his athleticism. And Michael Irvin the same way. Michael Irvin was just a flat-out competitor. You'd have to drag him off the football field in order to defeat him. I don't know if you could say that about Amari Cooper. As a matter of fact, that's been one of the knocks against Amari Cooper. But what you saw, he has unique, transcendent talent. It's just, how can you get it to come together consistently?
You don't wind up in the Hall of Fame with that.
Lewis, which one is the most egregious to compare? Is it Aikman to Dak?
Yeah, I think so. And only because, but you know what? For some of the same reasons why it's still egregious to compare Amari to Michael. Right. Because we're talking about the things you can't measure, that really where you see the gap with these guys.
You're talking
right?
about greatness. You're not great without internal motivation. There's one great player in these triplets. That's Ezekiel Elliott. He's a great player. He'd have been a great player in any era.